Hey guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your day. I'm very excited about this video, which came as a surprise to me. And the reason why I'm excited about it is because this video we can learn from. And I think it's so important. This video I thought was probably the best video and the most simplistic video on how cults are made, why we're attracted to cults, what is a cult, how to look out for a cult. And I really think that this was the purpose of this video. So a while ago, a couple weeks ago, I did a video that had to do with Paige Hannah, who was part of Connexions, who was very friendly with Ruby Franke and Kevin Franke, and was also a counselor for Jodi Hildebrandt, and kind of told us a little bit about what was going on behind the scenes and who these characters actually were. Well, she said that she was gonna make videos as they came out to explain the situation, because as you know, Kevin Franke in his interrogation brought up Paige Hannah and her husband John as somebody who introduced them to Jodi Hildebrandt, which I'm not sure about that. That's now unclear to me. Probably introduced them to the Connexions, not so much to Jodi, because I think Jodi was a therapist for probably Chad at this time. But this video, Under the Rug, I'm going to link it. This is the second video. I highly recommend the first video, but this video I dropped my jaw. I watched it a few times and I said to myself, plain and simple, this woman is talking about not just Jodi Hildebrandt, though she is. She's talking about how to recognize if you're in a cult. And for that reason alone, it's a 40-minute video. I recommend it more than any video I've put out there, with the exception of my video about my dog Hero. This video explains cults, and you can easily, even you guys that are into the Scientology, please check this out, because it pertains to that. You can clearly break it down. Those people that are interested in Jonestown, Jim Jones, this breaks it down. This is a video that I just cannot recommend any more. Okay? I am not saying that Paige Hannah is innocent of anything, though I think that, that Paige is trying to make amends with these videos, that she realizes what happened, hindsight's 2020, and that she's trying to be as transparent as possible. I also think that Paige Hannah totally believes in the principles of Connexions. Wait. Now, as she also says, and I'm jumping here, but it's important to know, because I want to be transparent, and when I recommend something, I want to be transparent. Now, Paige Hannah totally believed and believes in the principles of Connexions. However, she uses those tools in a positive way, where Ruby Franke used them to weaponize. Okay? So in anything, in saving the world, which Scientology wants to clear the planet, everybody should just not have any kind of obstacles. Everybody wants no kind of obstacles. It's what we sacrifice to get that. That's on the scale there of what we balance. What we sacrifice to get that. If we are walking over people to get that, that is not good. If we are being patient with people and listening to people and helping them honestly try to achieve what they're trying to get, that is good. So how we go about using practices about things is totally part of how it is perceived, how we receive it, the perception of it, and if it's going to be good or bad. So I'm going to go on and now tell you things that stood out to me and that I made note of in this video, and you can hear the passion in my voice. Like, I couldn't explain it any better about what to look out for in cults, how do you know if you're in a cult, and how to recognize if you're doing good or bad. Again, she explains it perfectly in 40 minutes. I highly recommend it. So Paige Hannah was already connected with Connections before before her relationship began with Ruby Franke. Now, again, Paige Hannah had a business model in her own mind of Connections where more or less Jodi had an MLM, okay, a multi-level marketing, which puts somebody at top, which would be Jodi. So Paige had a different idea. Connections is about living in truth, okay, and avoiding distortion. Distortion is something that is an obstacle that doesn't allow you to get truth. Now, what's truth? Truth is living as honest of a life as possible. That, according to Jodi, is Jodi's truth and how Jodi perceives that truth. Paige Hannah had a different idea of what truth was. It was more of a healthy thing. So Paige Hannah had seen that there was a difference between counselors, between life coaches. And she had thought a way to make this business go would let everybody, kind of teach within the way that they could teach instead of just one way of teaching, which is what? Cultish, right? Cultish. But Paige Hannah said everybody has a way of teaching and can still get the point across as long as the lesson's being learned. Let somebody teach it in their voice, not in Jodi's voice. That was not okay with Jodi. However, again, you can pay attention to what a cult is about that, right? So, and Paige said, if everybody does this, they can basically charge whatever they want, and they would give Jodi a fee. They'd pay Jodi X amount of dollars so that they can use the tools of that program. That's something Jodi didn't want to do. Okay, I kind of jumped the gun a little bit with that, but I wanted to show you the attitude that Paige Hannah had. So it's a business. She still is trying to, I don't know if she's currently trying to run that business. I think she's way away from Connections. However, you can see that there were kernels of the practices that she found that worked for her family, and that she found that she could speak and teach in her voice. It was not okay with Jodi for that. Jodi wanted complete control. So though there was, a business and making money that Paige was looking at, there, just to be transparent, that's why I'm saying this. And also a way to do it ethically and morally and with integrity, which is something that Jodi and Ruby absolutely failed in. So now get back to what happened here. So the Hannah family, John Hannah and Paige Hannah, ended up taking Kevin Franke and Jodi and Ruby Franke, ended up taking Jodi and Ruby on a trip to Scotland. It had something to do with their roots. It's unclear who paid for anything here. This I'm a little skeptical about, because if Connections paid for it, yeah, I don't really like that. If they just got together as a couple, as two couples, and were just hanging out as friends and did this together and then started talking about things, that's not 100% clear. But what's clear is that definitely Paige thought that there was a friendship, and a very good friendship, and something that she felt like her and Ruby were like-minded about. She would later learn that when we talked about weaponizing the principles of Connections, that, yeah, Ruby kind of did that from the gate. Ruby didn't need help to weaponize these. And when she says weaponize, she means as taking the information and the answers and living a life that you're trying to achieve. And if you're not living your life that way, looking down at your nose and causing shame onto that person, making yourself superior and making that person less than. So that, again, very cult-minded in an MLM type of manner, each person. You know what I'm saying? So So people had asked Paige Hannah, hey, why would you take advice from a woman who's divorced and has no relationship with her children, which is Jodi Hildebrandt? So Paige Hannah said, yeah, didn't know that. Knew she was divorced, but didn't know how bad the relationship ended and the fact that she really didn't have a good relationship with her children. She was under the impression she saw her children, that Jodi saw her children, and that everything was good there. However, as we come to find out, so not true. So not true. Also, what she found with Jodi was that Jodi calculated things to manipulate Paige. So she would say to Paige that she was having these horrible nightmares and she just couldn't sleep at night. This is Jodi. She was having these horrible nightmares and she couldn't sleep at night because literally the devil, Satan himself, was coming after Jodi. And how unfair it was, because all she was doing was trying to make up these techniques and these tools to help people, especially women in this world, but how exhausted she was by trying to keep the devil at bay. Well, soon as Paige stepped away, years later, she would realize, yeah, that's very narcissistic, because the average person would say, I have annoyances, I have this, I have that. Jodi Hildebrandt had, as Paige Hannah said, the father of all evil, Satan himself, coming right after her. Like, that's who Satan was. He was out to get her more than anybody else. In this world, if Satan lived, he would be out to get Jodi Hildebrandt. That would be his number one woman's most wanted or men's most wanted. Again, hindsight's 2020, and Paige caught on this too late. So Paige says Kevin called Connexions a cult. And he says it again in the interrogation when he's talking to the police. So he always felt that. He was just so in love with his wife. He was committed. And again, there is something with the Mormon church that if you get divorced, you lose steps to being close to God. That's a serious thing if that's what you believe. I mean, if that's what you believe, that you are going to lose tears being close to God, not tears, but like rungs on a ladder being close to God, if you divorce, then, I can understand how that could be very difficult for you to come to that decision of that. And Kevin right away said that this was a cult. But one of the things that Paige Hannah makes it clear is if people don't live align with the way that they speak and the way that they preach, if they're not living like that. So if people are preaching no sex before marriage, yet they're unmarried and having sex, not a good thing, right? If people are preaching things and not living their life like that, that's one of the signs that you're probably involved in a cult. If everything, like what Paige realized was that Ruby Franke, her barometer of what was right, what was wrong, and the degrees of what was right or what was wrong was Jodi Hildebrandt. And while a lot of good counselors and connections walked away and distanced themselves, those that thrived on weaponizing the tools stayed. Those that had that perverse excitement of watching other people in pain and struggle, they stayed. Paige Hannah had noticed this and had walked away from it. She feels terribly guilty, so she says, and I have to believe her, no reason for me not to believe her, that she encouraged Ruby. But what she's starting to realize is Ruby was already dark before she met Jodi. So the fact that it unleashed something inside of Ruby Franke her behavior towards her children, if that was unleashed because of Jodi Hildebrandt, it was certainly not Paige Hannah's fault, because she didn't see that coming. So I want to say that. Another thing in being manipulated, and what Paige had realized, was that there was a circular motion with Jodi Hildebrandt, but there was never any real movement with Jodi Hildebrandt. She wanted help, but only to find herself in a cuddle puddle. Let's use that. In getting help, not in getting help to move forward. She didn't want to move forward per se. She wanted to rely on the people and manipulate the people. And that's what Paige started realizing was, maybe she told me about these nightmares, if they're even true. Maybe she told me as a way to sink her claws into me, because she saw that I was like looking around and thinking some of this stuff isn't right, so that I could feel compassion and sympathy. Something Paige Hannah said Jodi and Ruby lacked. Jodi and Ruby lacked. So while Jodi will probably do a lot more time than Ruby Franke, we shouldn't forget Ruby Franke should probably be doing more time. Those were her kids. So let's go there. The passive aggressive behavior as well, in saying, oh, all of this is going wrong, but not doing anything to make it better, right? Because it's easy to sit in a victim seat, but not when you supposedly have the tools to make people's lives better. Why are you failing at your own? Again, not living in the same way that you are preaching, not living in alignment. If those tools Jodi Hildebrandt has are working for other people, why isn't she using them on herself? And if she is, why aren't they working for Jodi Hildebrandt? There is no reason. It doesn't surprise me at all that Jodi Hildebrandt had this non-movement about her, this kind of circular motion of living in the victim seat, because she was extremely lazy. We know that she was extremely lazy. She didn't bathe. She didn't want to be bothered. She took no pride in herself, no self-worth in her. Jodi's only self-worth and Ruby's only self-worth was in what they took away from other people. That was it. Guys, I really want you to please check out this video. I'm just talking in circles now. I don't want to, when somebody can clearly tell you their story and their point of view from it. So again, I'm going to link that video. It's called The Second from Under the Rug by Paige Hannah, who once did a video series called Under the Rug with Ruby Franke. So she'll tell you a little bit about that. Another thing, which is, this is really important, because I have said this before, and Paige talks about it. And she says, I'm guilty of it. Paige says that she was guilty of it. So Paige felt like the tools that she had learned from Connexions were tools that a lot of people didn't know about. And because she worked those tools in a way that was compassionate and sympathetic to others and putting other people's considerations in, those tools worked for her. And because she felt like she had a secret of success, it made her feel a little bit more elite. Made her feel like she knew things that other people didn't know, that there was an advantage of that. That is something that I've said before about Scientology, and that I've said before about other cults and other groups. Just that they are able to, my boy's dreaming, just that they feel like they have something over on the average person, where it should be like oh, you're struggling with that? I might have something for you to think about that can maybe make it better for you. Something that's more humble, something that shows compassion, something that shows sympathy, not that better than or weaponization of these tools. So, guys, again, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you don't like me, you can unsubscribe. We are not a cult. We do not make you stay, but we're sure glad when you do. And guys, I can't thank you enough. Almost 5,000 of you. Thank you. Everybody that's watching the video, if you would please like, subscribe, that'd be great. Half of you watch the videos and you're not subscribed. You're not really committing to anything. It doesn't cost anything. It's just giving me a chance. And I would appreciate that. Guys, thank you so much. Whether we had breakfast, lunch, or dinner, whether you're going to sleep, whether you're waking up, I hope I gave you some food for thought and something that will make your day a little bit more positive. All right, guys. Thanks. Don't forget, be better today than you were yesterday, not half as good as you'll be tomorrow. Never, ever, ever be Jodi Hildebrandt or Ruby Franke. Always be yourself and always be kind. All right, guys. Thanks.